Hello everyone, this is Jimmy Cultist, back again with another exploration game tutorial, or how to build, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to turn on grid snap to finer. Now, there's something I want to talk about today that's very basic to Dreams, but can be a little bit tricky, and is probably something you would want to know about. But basically, we're going to talk about doorways, or level doorways to be more precise, not just your regular average doorways. And for the purposes of this video, we're going to stamp out a sculpt, set it to mirror, clipped, set it to grid snap, stamp it out, and we're just going to cut a little hole in it. Now basically all this is going to be is a handy-dandy platform that we can put our logic on. We'll reduce the detail because it's not really going to be visible. As a friendly reminder, if you want to reduce the detail, it's in the tool set. Adjust detail. Triangle makes it increase detail, you know, and if you press triangle again, you can increase or decrease it, depending on what you want to do. But this is just a platform for our logic, non-collidable, non-visible as usual. Gonna turn on studio lighting so we won't get that weird glare from our collection effects. Stamp this right here. Microchip. And doorway logic is usually quite simple. There's lots of different ways you can do it. You can have a prompt come up and ask someone if they want to proceed to the next level. But in this case, we're going to be doing the simplest form of doorway, which is just a trigger zone hooked up to a level link, or a doorway, or whatever you want to call it. I never said the word doorway so many times. And it's going to be set to detect friend because basically, you know, our character is labeled friend as indicated by his glowing body. And you can see here, it's true, he's labeled friend. And that's all you're going to need to do. Now if you go over to, what's this one called? Gameplay Gear, you'll find the doorway. If you're an LBP person like myself, you'll be tempted to call it level link, but that's not what it is. And we can label this exit, or whatever you please, depending on, you know, what kind of game you're constructing. This could be the entrance to a new level, which it is sort of. We're going to go ahead and explain some things about the types of doorway. Now, an entrance is only useful in one scenario. If you want the player to enter the dream and not be able to go back, entrances are useful for that. Like if you want a one-way entrance where someone comes in and, you know, from another level and they're just here, one-way trip, that's what an entrance is good for. Now we'll talk about what an exit is good for. An exit is the other end of that one-way street. Like the entrance. When you go into the exit, you are going to the entrance. I could demonstrate it with paint flex real quick. You'll notice that on the logic, if we could open it up here again, the exit looks like this backwards facing arrow, whereas the entrance looks like, you know, exit's facing to the left, entrance is facing to the right. So think of this one as the exit. You're in a level, you enter the exit, and the exit carries you to an entrance into another level. That's a one-way, you know, like if you're in Crash Bandicoot or something, you're in the next level and you can't go back. Very simple. Next we have the two-way. Now the two-way is basically a bridge, which you can just go either way. If you go into this entrance, you can go back. If you go into that entrance, you can go back. It's pretty self-explanatory. And we're actually going to show some of these things in action, just so you know how they work. But for now, we're going to create an exit. We're going to move this over here with precise move. This is the room we're going to have to enter if we want to move to a new level. And we're going to have to make some quick scenes for, you know, the process. And I'm going to get into that in just a moment. But you'll notice that if we go through our doors, which still sound like farts for some reason, that was us leaving the level, that little blurry thing that just happened there. In here you can control what kind of transition you want. You can set it to dissolve, which is what I tend to prefer, or you could make it this circular thing. And if you set it to reverse, it'll close out like an old silent movie. Like that. I think we could go with that. That actually isn't too bad. Here's the transition fade in time. You know, how long it's going to take for you to fade in and how long it's going to take for you to fade out. I don't think fading out usually is useful unless you're working with, like, an entrance, but, yeah. In most cases, you don't really need... There's, like, an automatic entrance built into every level in Dreams. Like, if I just have an exit and I have the pig, you know, come in here... Dreams already considers this an entrance. I know there isn't one there, but you kind of have to imagine an invisible entrance. However, when you put two-way doorways in a level, Dreams ceases to notice that invisible entrance, and you kind of have to make one of your own, like so. But I'm going to demonstrate some of these things for you just real quick. So we're going to go ahead and save. And we're going to create a remix of this level for the sake of demonstration. Exploration game. We'll just call it level 2. That's easier. We're going to be demonstrating some of the basics. Now we want an indicator that this is level 2, so we're going to put this over here. We're just basically going to reverse the level. It's a very simple method of, you know, getting across that we're in a different place. And we're going to turn this exit into an entrance, and we're going to remove this is where the pig will appear. I tend to put the arrow very low to the ground because this thing shoots high. Like, wherever you think it's going to put the character, it's going to put them way higher than you would expect. So put it low if possible. Something that might require some testing. We're going to go ahead and test just to make sure that we can... Oh, that's strange. We can actually go through the door. I don't actually think that's necessarily a problem. I mean, the door is not too important. We're mostly just thinking of a test anyway. But yes, this is just a test to make sure that our level is functional and we can walk around in it. Oh, one thing we might have to do with our first level, which I forgot, is we got to turn it into a dream, because you cannot link assets. And you can tell assets because they have an octagonal shape instead of a rounded shape like a scene. See? Element. Or scene. So it's going to be a need to be a scene if we want it in-game, and we'll make it level 1. Alright, now we're going to create a dream. How do we do that? We go to Start Creating, and we just select New Dream. Stamp out level 1, and you'll already notice that automatic entrance I was talking about is linked as soon as I stamp out level 1. Then when we stamp out level 2, you'll notice the entrance I created, which is labeled exit, which is kind of funky, but who cares. And then we'll give a name to our dream. We'll call this test, as in experimental test, not testosterone. And we'll exit, and we'll talk about some dream editing features real quick. If you want to edit your dream, it's similar to a level or a scene. You just press edit. This is the update mode. It updates the most recent version of the level, and here you can, you know, choose a background photo. Here are different tools. I'm not going to get into all this just now. It's not super important, but what's mainly important is now we can play. I'm not sure why I'm able to go through the door. That's kind of peculiar. Doesn't really matter though. We can fix that later. And now it's a little bit confusing. You gotta be wary of this. Sometimes when you enter a level, the camera will be zoomed out, so you'll see this weird blackness. That's something you can correct though. But we're obviously in level 2, so it's working as intended. You'll also notice that the key in level 2 is not visible because we picked up the key in level 1, so that's our variables working precisely as we wanted them to. Now we're going to change something. What are we going to change? Well, we're going to change... not that. We're going to go to our doorway. If you put on X-ray mode and turn on invisibility preview, it should be easier to find it. But there's our little exit. And we're going to label it something different this time. We're going to label it door. And we're going to set it to be a two-way. Now this is where things get really interesting. I think two-ways are probably something that a lot of people are going to want to play around with, because people like to make, you know, big, elaborate games, and for those you usually need a two-way so that you can backtrack and, you know, pick up things you missed. But now that we have the trigger zone set up, it's all connected. And we're going to go ahead and save level 1. And we're going to go back to level 2 and make a little tiny correction, which I think is necessary. Turn this to door and make it a two-way. Now there is one little thing we'll have to discuss. As I was saying before, that little invisible entrance that we showed earlier when we were pressing View Dream, that will disappear once you add a two-way doorway. Why this is, I do not know. Doesn't really matter though, we're going to turn this into an entrance. And how many doorways you have does run up the thermo somewhat, but it's sort of an illusion. Like, if you have a lot of thermo already, it won't run it up that much. It's just kind of calculating different aspects of the level. The thermo is tricky in some situations, so you can't always trust it, but you can have a pretty good amount of doorways in a level. I'd say probably 8 is a good number. But we'll go ahead and save now that everything's done. And we can demonstrate the handy-dandy little update mode. And then there's reset progress, which will reset all of your variables. That's all it does, basically. It'll also reset scoreboards, but I don't use scoreboards or understand how to make them, so I don't use that much at all. Go to Edit, though, and you'll see in update mode we'll have these two versions. All you have to do to update to the most recent one is go Update Now. There's also other features which I never use. Update to specific version, never use that. Auto update, never use that either. I like to be very manual about things, but after we've saved, as you'll see, the entrance disappeared. Of course, we replaced it, but that was necessary. Believe you me, it would disappear if we didn't do that. Quick save. And we're going to reset progress and load into our level. Pick up our key and just run through the door, honestly. It can be done, so why not? And now we're in the other level. And we can go back, and we're in the first level. However, you will notice something. How come I'm here in the middle of the room instead of at the door, you know, at the doorway? Well, there's a very simple explanation for that, and I'm going to go in and explain it real quick. There's an odd bit of Dreams trivia or logic that's very interesting that Media Molecule, if they do tell you about it, I've never seen it, alright? So I don't want to be harsh on them. Maybe they did mention this somewhere, but I've never heard it. And that's the fact that your character will not move to the proper position of a two-way doorway, because even if, you know, we didn't realign the position, so he would have appeared up here if it was working. But you're probably wondering, well, why is that? It's a two-way doorway, and they let you reposition this. You know, this is the character's position where they're supposed to appear. Why did he appear there? It's because you have to relabel the controller sensor. I forget which one it is. It's either the controller sensor, or the puppet logic, or the controller logic. I think it's the controller sensor itself has to be labeled player, but just in case, we're going to label all of these player. I don't remember which one it is. But by doing this, the doors will suddenly work. We're going to have to do it in level 2 also, so I hope you don't mind. Normally we'd have the pig saved as an asset, and we could just update him, you know, go in and change his qualities, and then just go to update mode, and we'd have the most recent version of our pig character. But since we aren't going to be doing that, I'm just going to manually go in here and change it to player. Make sure it's all consistent. Alright, now that that's done, it should work. I must admit, this is one of those things where I wish I had a better explanation as to why it is that way, but sadly, I don't know. It just is. It's just something that Media Molecule did. Alright, we're gonna go through this door. Oh, that's really strange. I don't know what's going on here. Let's go to number 2. Something's probably goofed up with his position. Did we reset it? Maybe it's too close. Maybe it's too low. That could be a possibility. If it's too low, he could be clipping through the floor. For safety's sake, we'll set it higher and further. And we're going to go back here and make sure that we don't have anything goofed up here, because I don't want to have to reset this later. Yeah, probably too low. If you have a nice solid floor, it might not be a problem. Then he wouldn't clip through it, but yeah, we can't depend on anything. Alright, let's update this again. Reset. I do not understand why he flipped like that, but it doesn't matter. We're gonna go back. And we're in the first level again. It's kind of hard to tell because there aren't any landmarks, but believe me, it's the first level. We know the difference now because in level 2, for some reason, you flip. Real quick, I'm going to check why the pig can pass through doors, and also why he flips when he enters the level. It seems to be upright, so I'm a little confused by that. I don't know why that happens, but let's look at our door. Our door is not labeled scenery, which is probably the most likely answer as to why he can't pass, why he can pass through it. Yeah, that's it. It's labeled scenery. It needs to be. Also, our pig is walking kind of funny in level 2. I really don't know what's up with this guy. There's something crazy going on here. Are you all right, Mr. Pig? Is the floor labeled wrong? Why is he walking so strange? Is he colliding with something? Well, we can't exactly get too deep into whatever is causing this issue for the moment. I've basically gone over the basics. Why level 2 suddenly he's all strange remains a mystery to me. It's like he's colliding with something, but I don't know what it could be. Let's try one other thing. What are his procedural animations doing? Oh, they're fine. Maybe it's his physics? His collision mode? Let's see what happens when we lower it. Now he's still all wonky. Well, it doesn't matter. We'll get to this. Maybe I'll address it in the next level. One little thing I would like to talk about from the last tutorial that I didn't explain was when you're setting up a puzzle, or any kind of gameplay for that matter, always remember to put in text displayers that tell your player how to accomplish the puzzle, like what controls to use. And this may sound like a no-brainer, but honestly, I've forgotten to do that a couple times. I've forgotten to put tutorials that explain mechanics and such in my games, just because there's a lot to think about when you're making a game, but that's a very important aspect which you should never forget. Anyhow, let's give a little quick shout out to our monthly subscribers on Coffee. On up they go. And that's all. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss another video. If you wish to support our earnest insanity, you can check the links in the description to donate or buy merch. Until next time, goodbye.